What if all we see and know is actually nothing? This question might seem strange at first, but it's a deep idea that has puzzled thinkers for centuries. Today we're going to explore this fascinating concept and see how it might change the way we look at the world around us. Our everyday life feels so real and solid. We see objects, hear sounds, and touch things that seem undeniably there. But what if our senses are playing tricks on us? What if the reality we experience is just an illusion and underneath it all lies nothing? This idea isn't new. For thousands of years, people have wondered about the true nature of reality. In many Eastern philosophies, the concept of emptiness or nothingness plays a big role. They teach that what we see as solid and permanent is actually always changing and empty of any fixed essence. Some Western thinkers have had similar ideas, questioning whether the world as we know it is really what it seems. Now you might be thinking, but how can everything be nothing? That doesn't make sense. And you're right, it's not an easy idea to wrap our heads around, but let's look at what modern science has to say about this. In the world of quantum physics, scientists have made some mind-bending discoveries. They've found that at the tiniest levels of reality, things behave in very strange ways. Particles can be in two places at once, or even pop in and out of existence. And when we look at atoms, which make up everything we can see and touch, we find that they're mostly empty space. If we could zoom in on an atom, we'd see that the solid matter takes up only a tiny fraction of its volume. The rest is nothing. This gives us a new way to think about the space between things. We often focus on what's there, but what about what's not there? The gaps, the pauses, the emptiness. These are just as important as the stuff we can see and touch. Think about music. The silence between notes is crucial to the melody. Or think about art. The empty space in a painting can be just as powerful as the painted areas. When we start to pay attention to this emptiness, we might notice how it shows up in our own lives. Have you ever had a moment of quiet when your mind feels clear and peaceful? That's a taste of emptiness. It's not scary or sad. It can actually be very refreshing and energizing. This idea of nothingness can help us in practical ways too. Many of us feel overwhelmed by all the things in our lives: possessions, obligations, information. What if we could let go of some of that? By creating more space in our homes, our schedules, and our minds, we might find more room for what really matters to us. Letting go isn't always easy. We often cling to things because they make us feel safe or important. But when we hold on too tightly, we can miss out on new experiences and growth. By becoming comfortable with a bit of emptiness in our lives, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. This doesn't mean we should get rid of everything and live in an empty room. It's about finding a balance. We can appreciate the things we have while also recognizing that they're not permanent or essential to who we are. This can lead to a sense of freedom and peace. Now let's think about creativity. Have you ever noticed how good ideas often come when your mind is clear and relaxed? Many artists, writers, and inventors talk about the importance of empty space in their creative process. When we're not cluttered with thoughts and distractions, we make room for new ideas to emerge. This connects to the practice of mindfulness, which has become popular in recent years. Mindfulness is about being fully present in the moment, without judgment. It often involves clearing the mind of busy thoughts. This isn't about making your mind blank, but about creating a spacious awareness where you can observe your thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them. For some people, the idea of nothingness or emptiness can be scary. We're used to defining ourselves by our thoughts, feelings, possessions, and relationships. The idea that all of this might be illusory can feel threatening. But many people who have explored this concept find that it actually leads to a deep sense of peace and freedom. When we accept that everything is always changing and that nothing lasts forever, we can start to let go of our anxieties about the future or regrets about the past. We can appreciate each moment for what it is, without trying to hold on to it or push it away. This doesn't mean we stop caring about things or people. In fact, many people find that when they let go of their tight grip on reality, they're able to love more freely and act more compassionately. When we're not so wrapped up in our own ideas of how things should be, we can be more open to others and to life as it unfolds. So how can we apply these ideas in our daily lives? One way is to practice simplifying. This could mean decluttering your physical space, cutting back on commitments, or taking regular breaks from technology. By creating more space in your life, you might find that you have more energy and clarity. Another approach is to pay attention to the gaps in your day. Notice the moments of silence between conversations, the pause before you respond to someone, the space between your breaths. These small moments of emptiness can be refreshing and grounding. You might also want to explore meditation or mindfulness practices. These can help you become more comfortable with stillness and emptiness. Start small. Even a few minutes of quiet reflection each day can make a big difference. The goal isn't to empty your life of all meaning or pleasure. It's about finding a balance between fullness and emptiness, between doing and being. By recognizing the nothingness that underlies everything, we can paradoxically find more richness and depth in our experiences. This idea that everything is nothing might seem abstract or philosophical, but it has practical implications for how we live our lives. When we understand that the solid, permanent world we see is actually fluid and empty, we can hold our beliefs and opinions more lightly. We can be more open to change and more resilient in the face of challenges. Think about how often we get upset because things aren't going the way we think they should. We have fixed ideas about how life should be, how people should behave, or how we should feel. But if we recognize that these ideas are just thoughts, empty of any inherent reality, we can let go of them more easily. This doesn't mean we become passive or stop trying to improve things. It means we can act with less attachment to specific outcomes. This perspective can be especially helpful when dealing with difficult emotions. Often, we try to push away negative feelings or cling to positive ones. But if we can see these emotions as temporary experiences arising in the space of awareness, we might find it easier to let them come and go without being overwhelmed by them. The concept of nothingness also relates to our sense of self. We tend to think of ourselves as solid, continuous entities with fixed characteristics. But when we look closely, we might notice that our thoughts, feelings, and even our bodies are constantly changing. The self we try to protect and promote is actually a fluid, ever-changing process rather than a fixed thing. This might sound unsettling at first, but many people find it liberating. If there's no fixed self to defend or improve, we can relax and be more authentic in our interactions with others. We can be more playful and experimental in how we live our lives, knowing that we're not locked into any particular way of being. Let's consider how this idea might affect our relationships. Often, conflicts arise because we have fixed ideas about who someone is or how they should behave. But if we can see that everyone is as fluid and empty of fixed essence as we are, we might become more patient and understanding. We can appreciate people as they are in each moment, rather than trying to fit them into our preconceived notions. This doesn't mean we stop having boundaries or that we accept harmful behavior. It means we can respond to situations with more flexibility and compassion, recognizing that people and circumstances are always changing. The concept of nothingness also has implications for how we think about success and failure. We often get caught up in achieving specific goals or avoiding certain outcomes. But if everything is ultimately empty, then our successes and failures are equally transient. This doesn't mean we stop putting effort into our pursuits. It means we can enjoy the process more and be less attached to the results. Think about how this might change your approach to work or creative projects. If you're not so worried about producing a specific outcome, you might feel freer to experiment and take risks. You might find more joy in the act of creating itself, rather than focusing solely on the end product. This perspective can also help us deal with loss and change. When we understand that everything is impermanent and ultimately nothing, we can appreciate what we have while it's here without clinging to it desperately. We can grieve our losses while also recognizing that change is a natural part of life. Now you might be wondering how this idea of everything is nothing fits with the very real problems and injustices in the world. Doesn't this philosophy lead to passivity or indifference? Actually, many people find that understanding the empty nature of reality makes them more motivated to help others and work for positive change. When we see that we're all interconnected and that our separate selves are ultimately illusory, we naturally feel more compassion for others. We recognize that their happiness and suffering are not separate from our own. This can inspire us to act with kindness and work towards the well-being of all. Moreover, when we're less attached to specific outcomes or to being right, we can approach problems more creatively and collaboratively. We can be open to different perspectives and flexible in our approach to solving issues. You might be feeling a mix of curiosity, confusion, and maybe even a sense of expansiveness. These are all natural responses to such a big idea. Remember, the point isn't to fully understand or believe in this concept right away. It's an invitation to look at your life and the world around you in a new way. Try experimenting with these ideas in small ways. Notice the spaces between things, the moments of quiet in your day. Practice letting go of fixed ideas and see what happens. You might be surprised by the sense of freedom and possibility that emerges. Remember, saying that everything is nothing doesn't mean that life is meaningless or that your experiences aren't real. It's a way of recognizing the fluid, interconnected nature of reality. By understanding this, we can live with more openness, compassion, and joy. So the next time you look around and see a world full of solid objects and fixed realities, take a moment to consider, what if all of this is actually nothing? How might that change the way you see yourself, others, and the world around you? This is an ongoing exploration, one that can continue to reveal new insights throughout your life. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the nature of reality and nothingness. We hope this video has given you some food for thought and maybe even some new perspectives on life. Remember, the exploration doesn't end here. It's just beginning. Keep questioning, keep observing, and keep exploring the fascinating interplay between everything and nothing in your own life.